I'm Jack Nichols and welcome to home.
Who's going to break Smith's world title?
Oh, he's done it! And look at these two go! He's going to do it! His first victory!
The World Championship is done. What a race it's been!
Hello and welcome to Emilia-Romagna for the 6th round of the 2024 Formula SimRacing Academy Championship, the San Marino Grand Prix. Last time out at Silverstone, we saw a shock victor as Britain's Oliver Tarras won on his debut in FSR for Optimal eSports, beating Valle's Ruben van den Hudding. In third was Go Team's Cedric Bill, who is now close to within a point of championship leader Dan Ove Brandtholm. My name is Edward Hunter, and alongside me for qualifying and 44 laps of racing action is Ross Mcintyre. Ross, welcome to the Autodromo Enzo Edino Ferrari. It's an old-school track, a tight, twisty, narrow course, and it has a long main straight with a DRS zone at the end of it. What can we expect here as the Academy Championship gears up for its second half?
Well, if Silverstone was as chaotic as it was, we can certainly expect the same from this place. What a historic circuit we have at Imola. Just pure passion, pure history of racing, and it is a pleasure to kickstart the second half of the FSR season here. As you said last time out, Oliver Tarras, a shock victory at Silverstone, but nonetheless a fantastic performance on his FSR debut, as we saw many of the frontrunners in the championship struggle and many get involved in incidents that saw them retire from the race. Of course, Dan Ove Brandtholm only able to scrape together 9 points. Cedric Bill now just within a point of him in the championship standings. As we enter the second half of the season, it is very much closing up. Man, oh man, Silverstone, what a chaotic race that was. You had just everyone was firing it off left, right and centre. Hopefully we have less incidents here today. But as you said, Imola, very much an old school style circuit. Very fast, very tight and twisty, with lots of medium speed, tricky technical corners. So it will catch drivers out if they're not at the top of their game here. Qualifying just underway. First laps are being set. And as you can see, very, very warm up there. It's that time of year where Europe's turned into an absolute sweatbox and no one knows how to deal with it, especially the drivers potentially in Northern Italy. And that might be something we have to think about here, is maybe how does fatigue set in for the drivers? Because, you know, it is surprisingly tough work, sim racing. You are working up a sweat behind the sim rig. You haven't got a fan in your room. If it's not too cool in your sim rig room, then it could be a struggle for 44 laps here today.
My God, the race hasn't even begun yet, Ross, and already you're talking about fatigue. Well, somebody skipped lunch today, haven't they? But anyway, we see Giuseppe Saracino, local Italian driver, pole sitter last time out, winner from Bahrain, the season opener. Unfortunately, of course, Silverstone did not quite go to plan, to put it mildly, but this first lap, 1:16.7, so the raw pace of Saracino definitely remaining intact as we now look at XRL Esports. Josh Hughes, of course, making his second appearance after crashing out sadly from a top 10 position in Silverstone. Just after I praised him, of course, it was a classic example of the commentator's curse in action. We should talk a little bit about the Go Team situation between Peter Knapp and Cedric Bill. So those two essentially swapped places. So Peter Knapp, I believe, had to sort of drop out of his seat at the main Go team, to use, for want of a better expression, because of a sort of other commitment. So even though he won 2 races in a row, was doing very well in the championship, he sort of has had to sacrifice that seat. And so because Go Team all of a sudden realized their best driver in the championship, Cedric Bill, was in their B team, essentially, Gothenburg GP, they thought, why don't we put Cedric in the main team? And then Peter Knapp suddenly became available again, so he has taken up the Gothenburg GP. So I was slightly confused at Silverstone, but now I've had that explained to me. It makes a little bit more sense. But of course, Peter Knapp seems to be back after a difficult race at Silverstone, seems to be back on the pace here, just 0.2 off of Saracino on these first runs here. And here's the runner-up from Silverstone, Van den Hudding, Ross. He'll be keen to go one better, I think. Van den Hudding, someone very, very keen to prove himself. Surprised a lot of people, I think, in this middle phase of the season with podiums in Hockenheim and Silverstone.
Yeah, I think he certainly stepped it up the last couple of races. Obviously, we had a disappointing result in Singapore. He ended up retiring despite a strong performance. Another DNF as well in Australia, but third place in Germany, second last time out in Silverstone for Peter Knappen. Looking decently fast here so far in this qualifying session. We've just got under 5 minutes left to run. Currently, Saracino on the provisional pole with Knapp in second. And Taras, last time race winner, he's in P3. 0.2 of a second to the good is Saracino up the front. Giuseppe Canzanieri currently lies in P5 for Team GG. As we see Danov Brantham currently on a lap 2 personal best so far. Your championship leader by just a single point. What can the Super Swede do here at Imola? He'll be desperate to get a good result, especially with Cedric Bill hot on his tail in the championship and currently ahead of him in this qualifying session. Rounds the final corner onto that long, not quite straight main straight. DRS will be wide open very shortly. Comes to the line now, which is deceptively late down. Brantham goes into P2 there, immediately teleports back to the pits. He'll be able to get another run, potentially 2 in, if he's very, very quick as well, Peter Knapp, that's a very interesting line heading through Villeneuve, but I guess keep the outlap as short as possible, if you please. Darts over the gravel trap. Hopefully we won't be seeing much of that in the race. Maybe just trying to get himself all prepared. On board with Davide Zanini, the Italian Panini. Again, a big Italian showing here at Imola. FSR always has a strong Italian heritage, and that is all the same here. And although this is technically not quite Italy, it often goes under the Emilia-Romagna race, or as we call it here, the San Marino Grand Prix. We're not actually in San Marino, we're about 20 miles outside of that small province, but it's the name we're using anyway. Many Italians still consider this track in northern Italy home. What can Hughes do as he comes round to the final corner? Very, very tricky heading through that last section at Rivazza, but he's decided to come back into the pits. He stays P11 for the time being and will make his way back out. So with 3 minutes left to go, Ed, it looks like Saracino, 0.2 of a second to the good at the moment. Nobody really touching him at the moment. We've got a few drivers just starting their last-ditch attempts. Let's see if anybody can really nail it late in the session.
Yeah, and you make a good point, because San Marino is a pretty tiny country. It's essentially 3 towers at the top of a mountain. So here, Emilia-Romagna is about 60 miles to the northwest, sort of between Bologna and Ravenna. So that's why it's more for nostalgia reasons. I think they call it the San Marino Grand Prix. But as we look at the Team GG car, you notice they've got a special white livery on that car. Canzanieri, who for the last 3 races in a row has finished in 4th position and has been denied the podium 3 times in a row. So Canzanieri, he got so close, especially in Singapore, where he was running second right behind Brantham, when unfortunately with just 3 laps to go, he spun it coming out of turn 5 and into the wall, lost his front wing, and it was a painful moment for him. But he's been very consistent. He's only about 10 points behind Cedric Bill and 11 points then behind Dano Brantham. So Canzanieri, as the rear end just absolutely hangs out, and that could potentially have sacrificed his final lap then. So Canzanieri might have to settle for 7th behind Luxac. But it's Taras, winner last time out at Silverstone, who is lighting up the timing screen. Personal best in the middle, but purple in the first sector then. So Oliver Taras, the British driver, once more lights it up coming out and completely messing around there out of the Variante Alta there.
Yeah, that's not the line you really want to take, is it, Oliver? He will have just enough time for another lap, I think, but it's going to have to be a storming outlap if he wants to make it to the line. But he's not coming out of the pits, so Oliver Taras might have conceded defeat. He might be staying there. Danov Brantham, though. Look at that first sector. Second one, though, not as good, so he's going to have to be strong coming up to probably the scariest part of the circuit, the Variante Alta chicane. You've got to really clobber the curbs over there, but not take too much, or you will find yourself with a one-way ticket to the outside barrier. Again, one of the many marvels of Imola being such an old-school circuit, not a lot of runoff, which makes it very, very risky and exciting for us, but can cause tears for the driver. Brantham, what can you do? Coming to the line, he will have another lap if he chooses to do it. If he has the tyres, what is the time going to be? Crosses the line now, goes up into P3. It's a green last sector, but unfortunately still over 1/10 and a half away from Saracino, who is starting another flying lap then. What can the Italian do on home soil? He's been so fast this season. Unfortunately, he's not going to improve on this occasion as he goes for a spin heading out of the Villeneuve chicane. So it will be Saracino Brown bomb, Taras, Bill, they're not going for another attempt. Canzonieri will get another one. He's just going to make it to the line in time. I believe Peter Knapp will also get another lap, potentially Greg Luchak as well. So a few drivers in that top 10 still going to be able to give it a go. But we'll have to wait and see who's going to be at the top step when this, well, the checkered flag is now out. So last laps, here we go. It's only Peter Knapp isn't even on a lap. So the top 5, they are all set in stone. Can Luchak, Canzonieri, Viscott try and make a difference over this final flying lap?
Well, Viscott's certainly not going to go any quicker because he switched to hard tyres, I think, in preparation for the race. So he doesn't think he can do better than a 1:17.384. But Canzonieri and Luxak both set personal best in the first sector. Andrea Miharizoa, the Madagascan in the other Go team car, also doing some personal bests down in 16th position at the moment, just behind Riboli in the Valle. But yeah, Canzonieri very, very keen then to get himself a little bit up the grid. Could potentially knock down Cedric Bill here with good final sector, but the middle sector for Luxak and Canzonieri a little bit slower. We saw it, Saracino there, just a visual illustration of what happens when you go a little bit too far on the curb and offline, that the rear tyre can just spin you around essentially. But here we go, to the line comes Giuseppe Canzonieri, the Italian. Is it going to be better than 7th position? It is. It's going to be 5th position. He knocks himself just ahead of Cedric Bill.
Yeah, great lap there to get himself up into the top 5. Awesome, awesome stuff. That looks like it's going to be it then for our qualifying session. Doesn't look like anybody else is going particularly quicker. So I think we may be done and dusted here, Ed. And it looks like it's all set in stone. Not much change following the final few laps. So grid is decided. A very exciting qualifying session now. Just a few moments away and we'll be getting going racing.
So there, confirmation of the times then. Saracino takes his 3rd pole of the season then, just under a 10th ahead of Peter Knapp, of course. And don't forget, Knapp is 4th in the points, just 3 points behind Canzonieri in 3rd. So he's still technically in the mix if his availability improves in the final half of the season. Dan O'Brien from Championship leader will start the race from 3rd position, just ahead of Silverstone winner Oliver Taras, who is fast becoming a big factor in this championship. Giuseppe Canzonieri launches himself up to 5th. Luxak also got himself up to 6th with his final effort, so that puts both of them ahead of the man second in the points, Cedric Bill. Qualifying always was a little bit of a weakness for Bill earlier in the season, so hopefully top 7 he can build from there, from his point of view. Lucas Viscott for LR Conquest, first of those cars in 8th position. Ruben van den Hudding will start the race from 9th, and then Zanini rounds out the top 10, the local driver for Team GG. Costas Galnamatis in the Sol Netrex will start from 11th, just ahead of SimSpark's Josh Hughes. Then it is Nando Massa in the Grand Effect car who will start from 13th position. Massimiliano Riboli will start 14th. Persis Miram completes those starting in the points-paying positions ahead of Thomas Andrea Marizoa. Then there's Hayden Calnan in the independent Full Send Motorsports car. Olivier Demoliens for Optimal Esports will start at 18th ahead of Alex Hallows for Team GG. And in 20th, it will be Leonard Eichenfaxen for SimSpark. Terry Crawford in the 3rd of our SimSparks will start 21st. Arco Hollistel for LR Conquest will start 22nd. Mihailo Vincentovic will start 23rd for West Social Club LR. And then the field is rounded out by his teammate Michael De La Cruz, who was 3.3 seconds off the pace. So the Academy field, as the season's gone on, Ross, has started to close up, which is good to see.
I mean, that's part of the joy of the Academy field, isn't it? I mean, just the Academy series in general. This is, of course, the first rung onto the FSR ladder. This is, many people's first start into real competitive sim racing. So, you come into the season, there's some people who've maybe not done that much racing before, even if they've got the pace, especially at this level. So you start to see over the course of the year drivers developing, and you certainly see the field spread getting narrower and narrower, which is always great to see. And of course, you get surprises as well. You get the likes of Oliver Taras coming in out of nowhere and going on to a storming home win. So maybe we'll be seeing some of the same today. Of course, we've got an Italian on pole and Giuseppe Saracino. Valle eSports, though, the main Italian team, not with the strongest qualifying session for themselves, unfortunately. They'll be looking to try and improve in the race. But yeah, very disappointing for them on home soil. Let's hope over the 44 laps we have to look forward to, they'll be running a little bit stronger. Daniel Brantham, though, who'll be looking for a very, very strong race indeed, trying to really push his way forward and try and hold on to that championship lead. Of course, he did miss the third round in Germany, which Cedric Bill did not, and managed to pick up 8 points. So had Branthorn come in and presumably had a strong enough race, given performances so far this season, it's presuming that that gap could be a little bit bigger. But we'll have to wait and see. Of course, as I was saying earlier, Imola, it's a tricky circuit. It's a track that always springs up surprises. And it's notoriously difficult on strategy as well. Although we've only got 44 laps here, and as we always say, strategy is something very much that the pro and the world championship drivers, they'll be coming out later on. Given they've got longer races, it's something that always comes into more an effect for them. Even for these academy guys, it's a track that is really, really tough on the tyre wear, and that can cause a bit of chaos if you get your strategy wrong. So we'll have to wait and see what everyone is going to pull. We're just in the warm-up session at the moment. But that has come to an end, so give it a few moments and we will be out for our formation lap. 5 red lights and then 44 laps of racing. Again, Imola, it's one of those tracks where it's really difficult to gauge who's going to be quick in the race off of qualifying. Again, it's one thing to be fast in qualifying, another to be fast over a long stint. But Imola especially, it's notoriously difficult to translate that pace from one lap into just hitting your marks lap after lap after lap and really having that endurance over the course of the race. So that's something we've got to consider as well. Giuseppe Saracino, though, he's looking very, very fast, and he'll be looking to get back onto the top step of the podium after what can only be described as a disappointing run of form after a fantastic win out of Bahrain, 3 DNFs and a no-show in Singapore as well. But he's on pole here at his home race in FSR. Let's see what it can do, or maybe will another driver be challenging him.
Yeah, as you say, he's crashed out of the last 3 races he's entered. So, but full credit to Giuseppe, he's not let it get to him. He's putting a blistering pole lap, and really, he seems very intent on picking up from where he left off in Bahrain and pretending the last 3 races didn't happen, essentially. But yeah, Peter Knapp is going to be a major threat to him as the formation lap has begun with him at the tail, and memories of Silverstone flashing into my mind here, so hopefully Giuseppe Saracino has dispelled them already. But let's go through the grid then. Front row, Giuseppe Saracino ahead of Peter Knapp, then Dano Branthorn, championship leader, hits the second row ahead of Oliver Taras. Third row, Giuseppe Canzanieri and Grasiak Luxak for Go Team. Then on row 4, it's Cedric Bill ahead of Lucas Viscott. Row 5, Ruben van den Hudding ahead of local driver Davide Zanini. Then on row 6 is Kostas Galnamatis and Josh Hughes for SimSpark. What can the British driver do in his second race here? Nando Marsa will start on the head of row 7 in front of Massimiliano Riboli. Then on row 8 it's Perseus Miram and Thomas Andrimi Harizua. Row 9, Hayden Kalnan ahead of Olivia Demolians. Then on row 10, it's Alex Hallows and Leonard Eichen-Faxon, who rounds out the top 20. Perry Crawford heads row 11 from Arco Hollistel. Then Mihailo Vincentovic and Michael De La Cruz make up the final row of the grid. Well, a slightly reduced one, isn't it, Ross?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a reduced one.
Yeah, no Hyperions, crucially, so no Micah or Dabrowski.
Again, that's a big name and a big team as well that we've not got here. Bit of a smaller grid than we're used to in FSR, but again, 24 cars is still plenty. And given this historic circuit, 24 is more than enough. There's not a lot of space around here. Could be very, very interesting. Coming up to the grid now, what is going through Saracino's mind, the Italian flag on his helmet, his home race. Pressure is surely mounting, but we know how quick he is, sat on pole with a great lap. He'll be focusing in, I'm sure. Peter Knapp alongside as well. It's a very, very long run down into Tamburello, Ed. Crucially, if you get a poor start and a poor entry, as Saracino actually has to reverse up a bit into his grid box, you can lose a lot of places down into turn 1 at the Tamburello chicane. As the final driver, De La Cruz, makes his way into his grid box, it's almost time to go racing. Could be very, very exciting. We're moments away from the 5 red lights.
Yeah, so as you say, Saracino, last thing he wants is to be a sitting duck into turn 1, especially when DRS comes open. This straight is going to see a lot of overtakes. So, let's see what the strategies are once the tyres update, and off we go. So, looks like a clear run for Saracino then on the inside of Peter Knapp as Branfom holds on to third position from Taras then, as Canzonieri was briefly side-by-side with the Optiminol, but looks like all the top positions have stayed the same then. So, it's Saracino, Knapp, Branfom, Taras, Canzonieri, Luxak, and Bill still down in 7th then as we look at Viscott trying to go... Oh, he's being attacked by Zanini there. And just about holding him off then as Josh Hughes now gets involved at Tosa.
Yeah, clean racing, but aggressive racing on this early part of the race, should I say. Heading now through the top part of the circuit and then bombing back down the hill into the Acqua Minerale section, should I say. This is a bit different in real life nowadays, a lot less runoff, so these drivers have a bit more forgiveness in sim on board with Zanini. Another one of our home drivers. Again, bit of dirty air through there. That is absolutely crucial. Oh, who's that running off the road?
It's Zanini.
It's Zanini who's just gone off. Managed to avoid everyone else. But Davide Zanini having to reverse back out to circuit. No front wing. Going to have to be in a 1,000,000-point turn. But that is devastating for Zanini on the opening lap of his home race. Round into the wall at Acqua Minerale. Maybe there was a touch. Maybe he just locked a wheel or got onto the grass. We'll get a replay here. Let's have a look. Coming in. Oh, just missed the braking zone and actually had to throw himself out of the way to not clatter and climb over the back of the cars in front. Zanini will continue, but he will have to box for a new front wing. That's a disappointing way to open his home race. He'll drop down to the back of the order as it stands. His fellow countryman Saracino leads the way, and here's another one. Canzonieri, currently P5, chasing down Taras for P4.
Yeah, I think Zanini was trying to avoid the back of Josh Hughes in the SimSpark, and unfortunately, yeah, he sort of got caught out by the closing speed, had to, as you say, swerve off to the right, and that was where the wall was, but it would have been the same on the left with the wall even closer. So, yeah, but you got to feel it's a story of Zanini's season. Some great pace, some great flashes of brilliance, but unfortunately, a lot of moments where he's put it in the wall. And his last race as well at Singapore, because he missed Silverstone, he ended up crashing into Peter Knapp as well. So Zanini's on a bit of a destruction streak at the moment, and he needs to get things under control already if he wants to get some more points under his belt. As we cut to Van den Hudding, who's starting to challenge Bill. Remember, these two were fighting over second place, and it was Van den Hudding that was victorious last time out at Silverstone, and Bill starting to look a bit wrong-footed. And in fact, Van den Hudding also loosens up the rear tyres out of the final corner.
Yeah, here we go then. Coming down the front straight. Does anybody fancy a look? Of course, DRS will be activated this lap, so none yet to the outside. Oh, a little bit of a lunge there from Viscott. Had a look into Tamburello. Not really a place you can make a move from that far back. Here goes Hughes, though, to the inside, coming into Villeneuve side by side. Goodness me. Nearly loses the back end of the car. Had to back out of it as Viscott swept around the outside as they now run the run up the hill out of the big hairpin. Very, very tricky, this section of racetrack. As we go to Peter Knapp, though, he's closed the gap a little bit to Saracino on that previous tour of the circuit. And here we see a bit of a train stacking up behind Luchak. We've got teammate Cedric Bill, who maybe potentially team orders will be coming in here, given how Cedric Bill now realistically the #1 driver at Go Team. But Bill is also under attack from Van der Hudding on the hard tyres as well. A real split of strategy in the top 10. You've got a real mix of mediums and hards. Leader Saracino crucially on the hard tyre. Peter Knapp, Branford behind on the mediums. That is something to watch out for. We will have DRS this time round. Not a great exit from Maratza for Van der Hudding. So you're going to have to rely on the DRS and the slipstream. Let's get the warp speed activated, shall we? Or was he not quite close enough? Actually, no, he was. Graphic just taking a moment to update as there we see Zanini coming out of the pits in the background. Not close enough to have a look down into Tamburello, but still closing in nonetheless onto this second straight, the run down into Villeneuve. Awkward corner this is. You've got to really get down the gears, but it's got to be patient in a modern Formula car. It's not flat out, but it's not really a slow corner. You've just got to kind of float through there and to get the car set up for the right-hander. It is very, very tricky indeed. Looking back from your race leader, there we see Peter Knapp, Daniel Branthome, the Super Swede, also in the rear view mirrors as well. And I tell you what, Taras, Canzonieri, they're not too far behind either. Saracino on lap 4 of 44 could be starting to come under a little bit of pressure. Maybe this time as we head back into the DRS zone, you can really see the top 5 starting to close up here. On board with Brantham down into Rivazza. Maybe at this point, maybe the Swede, the championship leader, is just thinking about trying to stay within DRS, trying to stay in the slipstream, knowing if he's got a modicum of pace, he can just sit there, be patient, and wait for the opportunity to present itself. Here's the move though, Canzonieri with hasn't even got the DRS open yet. That's as easy as you like though. Canzonieri up into 4th.
Is that Canzonieri using the electrical deployment from the battery there? Because I was about to say that Taras was setting 2 purple sectors there, but his final sector was a bit slower than, of course, as we see Bill. Luxak is in trouble, so Bill has gotten back up into 6th position, and he's dragged Van den Hudding with him. So something must have happened to Grisic Luxak, where he just got swamped there into Tamburello, and now Viscott is all over the back of him.
Yeah, Viscott maybe having a little bit of a look down into the hairpin, but decides against it for the time being. Very tricky corner down at Tosa, off camber, coming up the crest at the top of the hill, and then this massive corner at Piratella. Really just got to trust the front tyre, trust the aero, especially the rear of the car. A big snap of oversteer there can really put an end to your race in a moment. But still, all the drivers managing to make their way around at the moment. Again, it's very warm here. Ambient temperature, only 23 degrees, not as warm as it is across the rest of northern Italy today. But track temperature, 42.5. That is blisteringly hot. And maybe that's why so many drivers choosing to run the hard tyres early on, like Van der Hudding and Bill in front. Just a little bit easier to deal with the tyre temperature, especially on the carcass of the tyre. Given the high track heat, means you can just modulate the tyres, push the tyres a little bit harder, and not worry so much about overheating. Again, the nature of tyres in a modern Formula car, a little bit of overheating, and it is really tricky to get them back down to temperature, and especially when all the rubber starts to move around. Peter Knapp still holding on to 2nd place on lap 6 of 44. Let's go on board. You can see a brilliant view of the fine craftsmanship of the FSR front wing there as they come through Tosa and now back up the hill. Got a replay of something here. Let's just have a look and see what's happened. And Vicentijevic has no front wheel.
Oh, and has Vicentijevic hit Leonard Eichen-Faxon as well, because he is retired as well. But Mihaela Vicentijevic, it's a reliant Robin there. He's not going to go too much further as he dips it into the gravel just before Rivazza. So here we go, as he just hit the back of Faxon into the... Variant Alta. No, he gets stuck, spins around, and then gets collected, and then crashes into the wall there. So I think that was one of the Sim Sparks that hit him there.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for Vicentijevic. 3 wheels on the wagon. But
and that must be Eichen-Faxon there. Yeah, it's also had a collision at the same corner.
Yeah, so Faxon out of the race. He lost his reel. Vicentijevic has decided to call it a day as well. He's a DNF. Unfortunate for those two.
Here comes Peter Knapp.
Tried to get to the pits. Indeed, Peter Knapp, DRS deployment. Here we go to the outside.
Yeah, and there we go. Saracino decides not to fight his sister team. And so Peter Knapp then takes the lead. He was threatening to do that with the DRS. Of course, he's got to use the mediums while they're fresher because the hards are going to be able to run a lot longer. And that was why it was so inconvenient for Taras as well, for to find Canzonieri flying past him on the hards, because he knows it's going to be a while before Canzonieri pits as well. So those on the mediums have got to make ground because they're going to be undercutting those around them, but they could either find themselves having to make an extra stop near the end or find themselves having to stretch the hard tyres longer in the second half of the race, which is what we saw in the Academy race here last year in the battle between Istvan Single and Thomas Smith, which ended up, I think it was Smith on the ordinary strategy was able to keep the hards alive near the end, whereas Single unfortunately breezed through the mediums on the alternate strategy in the final stint and found himself ending in a collision, sadly, between the two, which spun Single around. But yeah, Brandfom now, he will sense an opportunity because Saracino looking a bit vulnerable here.
Yeah, Saracino, I don't think he's really pushing too hard. I think it was more tactical racing.
I agree, yeah.
But again, at this stage in the race, it is clear the mediums are faster. Saracino is clearly making the choice not to really race too hard, but at the end of the day, he's still potentially, he's lost one position, potentially going to lose another. Not on this occasion. Brandfom too far back. Who is that off the road? Was that Cownan having a spin? Oh, and that's Cownan out of the race. That's coming out of Rivazza. That's a very strange place to have an off, and that's a big fireball. Not what you want to see at the back of the car. Let's have a replay. Did he just drop a wheel onto the grass? Maybe a lot of understeer heading into the first section. Second section. Oh, that's bizarre. The thing just went round.
Yeah, and the full send into the wall, and fancy a barbecue, Russ.
It is the weather for it, to be fair. What a shame there. And that'll surely be out of the race, given the massive fire, and indeed counting down and out on lap. What was lap 7, we're now on lap 8. Real shame for him. That's now 3 retirements we've had in 8 laps. To be fair, we're doing better than Silverstone. Yeah, that's really not what you want to see. Of course, no one wants to be out of the race early doors. But at the end of the day, that is racing. There will be other opportunities for these drivers to come through and shine, especially because we've still got 4 races left this season. On board with last time's debutant winner, Oliver Taras, the Optimal eSports driver, currently sitting in P5. He's got Canzonieri in front of him again. He's not really been pushing Canzonieri that hard. Will have the DRS, I believe, as they come to the line, and indeed he does. But quite a way back. It looks like he's not really dumping all of his energy deployment either, because he's not particularly gaining that much. Branthon, though, is started to really close up to the back of Saracino, and if you cast your eyes up in front, that looks like some lap traffic in front. So, I believe that's Michel de la Cruz, who's encountered issues earlier on. He's a long way back from Terry Crawford in P19. Of course, he'll be getting the blue flag, but if those drivers catch him in a bad place, that could really shake up the order of the top 5.
Yeah, here we go. And this is what happened to Terry Crawford, who's now in 19th position in the SimSpark. Has he just gone, backwards into the gravel almost at Tamburello there. So he's just outbraked himself, the Australian, which is a shame. I enjoyed commentating with Terry in Singapore. So hopefully he was he's very good at giving short, concise responses as well. So I'm sure his response to that spin will also be short and concise in the form of performance. As we see, Zach Gallimatis being overtaken by Viscott up the inside into the Variante Alta. So Viscott, I think, is really having to defend that 9th position from the Netrex behind him on the mediums.
Yeah, you really starting to see a few of the medium runners just start to push the tyre. They know that the tyre is going to start to hit a performance drop-off probably in the next couple of laps. You've got some drivers on the mediums just taking it easy. They want to play the long game and try and kind of match the pace of the hard runners and try and go as far as the hard runners. But some medium guys are really choosing to push and maybe go on for a 2-stopper on board with Gallimatis. Look at the warp speed. Had to back out of it as Viscott started to come back onto his line. And again, round the outside at Tamburello, it's a difficult move to pull off, but Gallimatis, the Greek freak, has got a great run out of Tamburello, but again, decides to back off down into Villeneuve. This time, it wasn't to be, but he's really got pace. Again, he's one of those drivers in the Netrex GP machine that's starting to push those mediums. Viscott on the hards in front, maybe starting to feel the pressure. He's wanting to try and run those tyres long. You can just tell from where he's putting the car, from the onboard, how the car is moving. Viscott is very much not in full conservation mode, but not pushing mode. He's trying to just run his own race. Gallimatis, meanwhile, looking for a way through. Branthon will also maybe look for a way through. I think Saracino's made a mistake somewhere because the gap in front of Peter Knapp was massively extended on this previous lap. And the Valley eSports driver has really got onto the back of Saracino, but a little mistake out of Rivanza. The Valley eSports guys, they've all been struggling with the run onto the main straight. The championship leader looks like he will get the DRS, but he won't get the run down into Tamburello. Let's go back on board with Gallimatis. Better run out of Tamburello that time. He'll have the DRS, probably dumping all his energy. This time, Ed, should be a little bit easier.
Could be. He's going to have to gain that final few tenths, though, in the braking zone. And there we go. Viscott just goes to the middle of the road. Absolutely refuses to be bullied out of the way there. But Gallimatis, I'm not sure he'll be particularly flattered by the nickname you've come up for him, the Greek freak. You could say the sort of the Herculean hero or some other sort of ancient Greek mythology. But no, Greek freak, it's because it rhymes. So, it's a bit derogative.
Got a replay here. What's this of? This is a Holostella.
I think he's about to retire from this replay.
Coming through Imola. Does it? Oh, yeah, just hooks a wheel on the curb into the wall and, down and out of the race. Big shame there for Holostella again. Imola is one of those tracks that's got those really killer outer curves. Yeah, the raised curves with the white line on. They can spin. Oh, goodness me. That is a big accident.
That was Perseus Miram there. Late move while Josh Hughes was trying to overtake there. And unfortunately, they both tangled into Tamburello. And Josh Hughes, who was holding 11th early on, is not having a great race, is he?
No, No, that's a real shame for Josh Hughes. I think that one's got to be on Perseus Miron for me. Hughes had already committed to that line, but it's tricky. That first braking zone into Tamburello, it's really in the middle of the track, so it's difficult to overtake there. But for me, Hughes had already committed. I feel like Miron should have given him space, but again, they've both managed to get going. Looks like not too much damage. Again, we've been seeing a lot of retirements in this race. Of course, FSR, we've updated our damage model for this year. It's now a lot easier to sustain damage, a lot easier to end your race with just the lightest of touches. So hopefully those two are all okay. Back up to the front of the pack, though. Peter Knapp looks like he's started to either pull the pace back in or the tyres are starting to run out because Saracino's starting to close in. Brantholm's there behind him as well. Canzonieri and Taras also in weight this top 5. Very, very close on lap 12 of 44. Over a quarter of the way through this race already, and it has flown by here at Imola. What a great race we've had so far. If you're just joining us, you have missed an absolute treat as Brantholm, the championship leader, gets a little bit sideways heading out of the chicane at the top of the hill. Again, you don't want to take too much curve through there. You can get away with a bit more in real life than, or in sim, should I say, than real life, because you're not going to just rip the floor of your car off and all of the electronics with it, but still it can really unsettle the balance and the aero pattern of your car if you take too much. Again, Brantholm is really struggling out of Rivata onto the main straight. He's right on the back of Saracino, coming through down into Rivata, down the hill, and then coming out onto the main straight. He just loses a lot of time. That's something the Valley eSports driver is going to need to get on top of if he wants to get through the Italian. Peter Knapp as well, he's starting to lose time. Maybe Saracino's starting to turn the wick up. Maybe Knapp's starting to run on tyres. He was pushing quite hard earlier. Galanamatis as well, still pushing. His tyres look okay from the onboard. Again, with lap 13 and 44, the medium runners Ed, he's starting to think about the tyres, starting to think about the strategy game. Yeah,
and it's interesting now because they were all in the 121s the lap before. Now, Knapp has dipped into the 120.8. Saracino has lapped slightly quicker in the 120.8s. Daniel Brantholm slightly slower in the 120.8s, and then we've got Canzonieri 120.9 and Taras 120.9, but all of them on a mix of medium and hard tyres. So the thing about Brantholm, because he's not been able to pass Saracino, that has opened things up for Canzonieri to get well within DRS zone as well. So this has not really worked out for the championship leader like you'd hope. Go Team are really in control of this race because whichever strategy works out, Saracino or Knapp, they've got a car in the box seats to take advantage of it.
Yeah, again, poor exit from Rivata onto the main straight. Bit of understeer that time for Brantholm. He's just really struggling to get the car hooked up in that section, and I'm not sure why. But hopefully he can rectify that because he needs to get a move on because he's going to be under pressure from Canzonieri soon. Viscott, meanwhile, is under pressure from Galanamatis. Wow, that was a late swing to the outside. Saw the back end stepping out there a little bit on the straight. And as we see, Viscott tried to pressure him under the brakes, but Galanamatis, he makes his way into P9. Great move there. And Viscott can only watch as the Netrex car attempts to sail into the distance. Oh, that was committed from Viscott, wasn't it? Heading through Villeneuve. A lot of corner speed through the left-hander of Villeneuve. Back on board with Brantholm we go. Coming down at the bottom of the hill and then sliding your way through that section and back up. What an awesome section of racetrack this is. Into the Acqua Minerale chicane again. Can take a little bit more curb here in sim than real life, but not too much. We've seen a few drivers get spat out there already today. Hopefully, Daniel Brantholm won't be joining him. He hasn't on this lap anyway. Let's see what Brantholm's doing coming through Rivata. The first part of the corner looks fine. The second part, that was pretty tidy actually. Maybe he's got on top of it, just upset it.
Did you see his exit there? He had to almost correct it on the exit of the corner there. So I think he was worried about drifting out wide, or maybe he got a little bit unstable there, and it might be just not that clear to us from the external camera, but I think you're right. He was just struggling to sort of maximize his exits there. Maybe that's just because the mediums are wearing, and you see it a little bit on Taras's car too. He's been kept in play by the DRS from the back of Canzonieri's. Canzonieri's being stuck behind Brantholm's not been able to escape, but Taras doesn't quite have the raw pace to sort of get his way back in front. And I wouldn't be surprised if Optiminal decide to use Taras to try and undercut the guys around him and pit fairly soon, because we are getting into sort of that pit window, especially with, if you look at the gaps behind, there's a sort of, it's beyond sort of Riboli, Andrium, Harizo, Miram, that sort of territory they'll come out if they pit then, and Viscott is out of the race. So that's a big shame for him.
Big chain. Big shock as well. What's happened to Lucas Viscott? Down and out as we are starting to approach half distance. Here we see coming into Villeneuve. He was really committed through here on the previous lap. Yeah, just ran too wide. Similar to what we saw earlier with Hollesteller. Just, yeah, clipping that outside curb and into the wall. Almost identical, in fact. And just too committed through Villeneuve. Again, that is Imola for you. That's part of the reason why I love this circuit so much. It punishes drivers if you ask too much of it. Again, as we always say, the racing gods giveth, the racing gods taketh away. But, you know, there's a line between, you know, being on the limit and going too hard. And Imola, when you go a bit too hard, he really doesn't like it, and it will spit you out, and that's what we've seen there with Viscott. Shame for him. 19 drivers remaining in this race on lap 16 of 44. And Saracino, actually, on that previous lap, has really turned the wick up, hasn't he? Because he's managed to break away from Brantham, and he's now within a second of Peter Knapp. Canzonieri as well, still, well, not quite stuck behind Brantham, but still looking for a way through. Taras behind as well, starting to drop back a little bit. I think what we're seeing, Ed, this top five just starting to separate a bit. The tyres are starting to go off, or maybe drivers thinking about the long game, thinking about the strategy, just starting to ease into their own rhythm rather than being stuck behind another driver and getting frustrated in their dirty air, unable to make a move. You'd rather just drop back, have a bit of space where you can run in some cleaner air, run your own race, and then just wait for the pit stops.
I think the other thing is maybe Brantham just pushed his tyres that little bit too hard trying to pass Saracino, and then when it didn't work, when the mediums started to come into their own, you're right, he sort of had no choice but to drop back a little bit, and now he's well out of DRS zone. They could be, he's probably trying to run a bit longer, because realistically you don't want to end up doing 30-28 laps on the hard tyre if you're switching from the medium, essentially, because that could be quite a distance to stretch them unless you're trying to switch to a two-stop, essentially. But it seems nobody in the field is opting to do that. And in terms of Viscott's crash, like we saw, it's similar to Hollister. It's the sort of thing that drivers probably would have gotten away with last year at Imola, but you say with the damage models, you see the tyre still there as a sort of grim reminder of what happens when you get it wrong. And also what happens when you put your hands, your race into the fate of the racing gods, so to speak. I think maybe an atheist approach might be better, to take your fate into your own hands and not go so far on the curb and into the gravel. But yeah, a bit late for Viscott, sadly. We see Zanini making another stop then, down in 19th and last of those still running. The good thing about retirement for Viscott, I say good, the thing that's changed the race, I should say, is that it's put Josh Hughes and Alex Hallows into the points as well. So good to see those two. We don't see in action too often for Team GG and SimSwat respectively. Really getting some good results. And Hallows actually passes Perseus Miram for 13th position as I say that. So, but anyway, we still watch this battle then with the 5 leaders, still within about 4.4 seconds. And Saracino is now well within DRS of Peter Knapp here. So is the favour going to be repaid here? Because Peter Knapp can sort of afford not to worry too much about Saracino, given how far back in the championship is after 4 non-scores in a row, essentially. It's looking... Saracino's hopes are looking pretty remote at this point, even if he wins every remaining race, Ross.
Yeah, championship-wise, I think Saracino's kind of put himself down and out, unfortunately, but he can still compete up the front and cause chaos. Looking at the state of his front tyres, though, from the onboard, they're really not looking too healthy. Again, we're coming up to half distance now. Of course, the hard-shelled runners can go a little bit longer than the medium guys. We saw Zanini coming back into the pits. He's come back out again, so I think Zanini... I think he's kind of accepted, well, not defeat, but I think he's seen this as essentially as an unscheduled test session now. Maybe he just wants to try and run fast laps or work on different parts of his racecraft on some fresh rubber. So fair play to Zanini. You know, he's still out there, still putting in the laps and still putting on a show, despite the fact he's a lap down and the last of our runners at the moment. Saracino closing in a little bit here up the top of the hill and then bombing back down into Rvarta. Again, a very tricky part of the circuit, braking while you're turning downhill, slightly off camber. And then that corner, the final corner, the second part of that Rvarta section, somewhere where Brantham has just been struggling all session long. You see Terry Crawford there, he just ducked into the pits on the right-hand side of your picture. Once again, Saracino, this time he's actually outside of DRS range, not too close, and he's not really saving up his ERS to dump it down all the main straight as well, so he's not really gaining places as that. We briefly cut to the full-on car of Lucas Viscott in the pit lane. Let's go on board with Zanini. Got some drivers in front.
It's Dela Cruz he's fighting with, isn't it?
They are actually all of the lap drivers in front. Of course, you are allowed to overtake drivers on the lead lap if you are a lap down, if you are faster than them. It does annoy many drivers, but you are more than capable of doing it as long as you maintain the pace and don't get shown.
Canzonieri and Brandfarm are fighting each other, and it looks like Canzonieri's got through into third then, so Brandfarm continuing to struggle on those dying mediums.
Yeah, tyres really coming into play here. 3 wide, all a lap down, but some great racing action nonetheless. And there we see, and well, actually, it's not quite for position, I don't think, because Zanini is not made up a place there, so maybe he's further back in the pack.
That's the other Team GG car, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, so he's chasing down
That's Hallows. Yes, Hallows a lap ahead of them then, letting them through.
That's very nice of Alex Hallows there, to be fair. Up to the front of the pack, Saracino. He's much closer this time, isn't he? 0.4 of a second. This time he will have the DRS. Will he dump the energy deploy as well as we swing by the start-finish straight to start the 20th lap, should I say, of this affair? And look at the closing speed, but he's not closing enough, not going to be close enough. We'll have to settle for second again. I think Saracino, he's really starting to turn up the wick now, starting to go on the attack. Again, he didn't fight Peter Knapp when Knapp went through earlier. Maybe that was the right decision because Knapp is now starting to struggle on those mediums. Saracino's still got a bit more life left in those hards. And if he's protected them smartly, he should be able to sail right through if he plays his cards right. The top 5 have all started to drift apart. Canzonieri is 3.5 seconds back now on the leader, should I say 3 seconds back on Saracino. As here we see Gallimatis, or that's not Gallimatis, that's Demolians, should I say, having a fight with Perseus Miram. Of course, Miram was caught up in that incident with Hughes earlier on. Those two demoted well down the order, but again, still putting on a show. And as I say that, Miram dives into the pits.
Yeah, Miram's tyres were looking very, very second-hand, actually, if I'm being honest. But here's the interesting thing now. Canzonieri, now he's got past Brandfarm. It'll be interesting to see how Go Team react and what Canzonieri's pace is like relative to them. He was matching Knapp in the first sector and about half a second faster in the second sector. So Canzonieri's got his hards working well here. I think he's going to be a big threat now because he's only about 3 seconds behind. And now we see Saracino in the DRS is going to be let through round the outside, surely, and plenty of room given by Peter Knapp into Tamburello.
Yeah, absolutely. Peter
and Taras pits.
Yeah, Tarrasin. Okay, so first of our front runners comes into the pit lane. Let's see, what is he? Yeah, his pit box is a little bit later. I was going to say, it doesn't look like he's stopped because those tyres are looking fairly rough. Goes on to the hards. Okay, so he's running hard to the end, as we would have expected, to be fair. So Taras makes his one pit stop, hopefully the one pit stop of the day anyway for him. Comes out into P11. Will he have some fresh air? And Jimmo Harasoa looking behind, but not close enough. So Taras with some fresh air behind, in front of him. That means he can just start to put laps in and maybe put some pressure on the drivers up the top who haven't boxed yet. Saracino, though, on lap 21, now leads from Knapp, from Canzonieri, from Brandholm. Cedric Bill now promoted up into P5. Hughes with the DRS on Alex Hallows, using that energy deploy as well. God, that was close between the pair of them. That was aggressive racing, but brilliant racing from Hughes, the SimSpark driver, up into P13. Awesome stuff there around the outside on the brake. Gallimatis now looking for a way past Richek Luchak as they come out of the chicane at the top of the mountain. Very, very tricky through there. And then coming into Rivata. Again, we are in the pit window halfway through this race. We should be seeing drivers dropping into the pits any second now. Do either of these drivers make the call? No, they do not. But Gallimatis said he's very close. Already in the slipstream. Already using the energy deploy. Already with the DRS. And he's already through.
Yep, there we go. And while we're watching this, Brandfarm has pit as well in response to Taras. Taras was 0.6 a lap quicker in this middle sector there on his out lap here. So this is going to be very, very close between the two. Taras should still be behind. There he is, just that speck on the horizon, but he will close in. Will get well within the DRS of Dano Brandfarm as they go into Tamburello. So Valet had to respond there, and that's crucial for the championship leader to keep Taras behind to make sure the Briton, this upstart, does not steal any more points away from them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, again, it's all to play for in FSR Academy here at Imola. Going back to our leaders then, Knapp is still maintaining a second or so gap, but again,
surely he's got to come in soon though, hasn't he?
Yeah,
seeing what Brandfarm has just done.
Next lap, surely. We'll wait and see. Really good on the brakes into there is Peter Knapp. You can see the gap closing up visually quite a lot. And does he dive in? No, so going once again, but look at the state of those front tyres. They are not healthy, to put it politely. Yeah, surely Peter Knapp, he's got to be coming in at some point soon.
He could be worried about life on the hard tyre in the second stint, Peter Knapp, maybe. Because if he's not done that much practice on the hard tyre compared to the mediums and the softs, then that might be what's influencing his decision here. He might, like, right, go a bit later, lose track position, breeze through the hards, and then try and overtake them with the DRS, maybe. As we see Saracino getting very, very close to the edge of the curb there. So he is probably noticing that Canzonieri was a 10th quicker than him on the last lap. He's only 2.9 seconds behind the race lead now, Canzonieri. So he is absolutely in this. And Canzonieri, who would, I'm sure, love just to finish on the podium for the first time this season. But ultimately, at home here in Imola, his home race in Emilia-Romagna, I think he would love to win it outright. And that alternate strategy, especially with the mediums being so quick at the end, they might be able to pull it off. But the problem is, we've got the likes of Brandfom and Taras that have undercut them essentially in the pit window. Brandfom is about 30 seconds behind the lead now and closing.
Yeah, Brandfom, yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But, yeah, interesting stuff. Of course, teammate in front of him, in front of Taras. So they'll have to fight with Taras. But when they get up to Massimiliano Riboli, which I'm presuming they will, if they do, again, Riboli does still need to box. If they do catch him, I'm sure Riboli will be very happy to let his teammate through. Maybe not so happy to let the Optiminal car through.
Canzonieri switched strategy. He's pitting off the hard tyre after 22 laps then. So surely this is him going for a two-stop then, because he's got to run the two different compounds. He's going medium to the end. Yeah,
very, very interesting there from him. So Canzonieri, where does he come back out of the pit lane?
He's going to be behind Taras, surely.
Yeah, it looks like it will be just behind Taras. I wonder what's going on underneath that virtual visor. Maybe feeling the pressure. Oh, yeah, he's just going to be behind. Or will he be just in front? No, he's going to be in front of Taras. So that's a spanner in the works for Oliver Taras. Canzonieri gets into P10. And that's now a three-way fight between our leaders further down the pack. Surely at some point, Peter Knapp and Saracino have to come in. I mean, you were saying maybe potentially Knapp's worried about the lifespan of the hard tyres, maybe pushing it longer on the mediums so we can push the hard tyres a bit harder, for lack of a better word. Again, you've got to remember as well, later in the race, the car's lighter, it's got less fuel on board, so you can push the car a little bit higher. You can afford to push the tyres a little bit harder because there's no weight on the car, or significantly less weight anyway. And here we see Nando Marsa trying to put pressure on Luchak in front. Can't quite get the power down, heading out of the chicane, bombing down the hill. Marsa, we know, is a driver who's typically better on the brakes than some others. You see that they're closing in, coming into Rivazza. A little bit of a wobble there from Luchak in front. The rear end just sliding around ever so slightly, those mediums. And as I say that, in he comes to the pits. That promotes Marsa up into P6. And Luchak dived in. We'll have to wait and see where he comes out.
Well, let's make that P5 for Marsa because Bill has pit from third as well. And that's the man second in the championship. So it'll be interesting to see where he comes out relative to Brandfarm, Canzonieri and Taras then. I think he's going to be just behind the Optiminal of Taras then. But he should be around about where Andrew Marizoa is then. So as we see, Bill is going on the softs. So he's got hard soft then. So surely that commits him to a two-stop strategy. So this is really, really interesting. I didn't expect any of the top five to go for two-stop. I thought they'd all commit to a one-stop. But it's really thrown things wide open. So Canzonieri's sort of got to make that other stop, but he's got to make progress past Brandfarm here pretty quick. He's got to overtake him again is the problem here. And Taras is going to be there to take advantage if things go wrong, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe just playing the waiting game at the moment, seeing what Canzonieri's doing. But again, the laps are ticking away. The one stop. Oh, that was clattering the sausage curves on the inside, wasn't it? A little bit wide from Oliver Taras. That one had done his spinal cord any good. As we look...
The leader's in.
Oh, yeah, in we come. And the same lap as well. Saracino and Nat both in. Of course, we're expecting them to be going the opposite way on tyres. So Saracino onto the mediums, Nap onto the hards. Battle of the virtual pit crews. As a set of soft tyres for Saracino.
And for Nap as well, I believe. So that is interesting. Van den Hudding is pitting, but he's responding to Bill's pit stop, isn't he? So let's see where they all filter out. Galina Martis now takes the lead. Saracino is behind Brandfarm, but ahead of... and behind Canzonieri too, so ahead of Taras. So Taras is the big loser in this phase, despite undercutting. He's the one who's still down in fifth.
Yeah, real shame there for Taras.
And Nap down in sixth as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's managed to get in front of Peter Knapp, So he's net 4th when we get going again, but he's got Peter Knapp on the soft spot. It really, I don't think it was a very good stop from Peter Knapp. He's lost a lot of time. Maybe he was getting some repairs done to the car or something along those lines. But Saracino and Knapp on the softs, that's really interesting. I mean, they can probably make it go to the end. Again, both of these guys are very, very good on the tyres. We've seen them, especially, someone like Peter Knapp, who ran that far on the medium compound tyres. Incredible stuff from him. Soft tyres, early doors, going to be very, very quick. As, Peter Knapp, he'll be needing to get through Oliver Tarash as quickly as possible, but he's got some time to gain. Saracino, meanwhile, we're looking to break the DRS, put his eyes on Canzonieri in front and get back gunning for the lead of the race. Your the net top 3, shall I say, 2nd, 3rd and 4th. Brantham, Canzonieri, Saracino and Taras in net 4th. Realistically 5th on the road at the moment. They are all very, very close together indeed as we head onto the 27th lap of this San Marino race. Here comes, that is Canzonieri, or not Canzonieri, should I say. That's Saracino.
No, that is Canzonieri.
Livery's mixed up. It's so exciting. Canzonieri blasts through Brantham and gets into the net lead of the race on the medium tyres. Now then. This is a very interesting development. We saw it over the first half of the first stint. We've got 4 drivers pinned together, a handful of laps left to run. It could be anybody's guess who's going to be on the top step of the podium.
Yeah, and it seems Gallimatis, I wonder if he's the only one that's actually fully committing to the one-top. He's done 26 laps on the mediums. He's lapping in the high 121.9s at the moment, whereas Canzonieri 120.5, even passing Brantham there. So, Saracino has got to clear Brantham quickly as well to make his strategy work here. But Canzonieri is potentially now in the net race lead, surprisingly. So this could be... We've had a home winner last time out. Are we about to see 2 home winners in a row as Josh Hughes absolutely chews up the distance between himself and Alex Hallows under brakes into Rivazza 1. Through Rivazza 2 they go. And Hallows, who he did overtake just before the pit stop, has undercut to get back through on the soft tyre. So once more, Josh Hughes will have to use the DRS. Will have to make a brave move around the outside into Tamburello's. Gallimatis finally makes his pit stop.
Yeah, so in comes Gallimatis then. Oh, that's really close between Brantham and Saracino.
Whoa, and that's Hughes round.
Coming round, managing to stay out of the way.
Thought they looked a bit close together, Ross, but unfortunately Hughes just didn't have enough overlap around the outside. He must have made contact with Alex Hallows there. And luckily the leaders all get through unscathed. But it's Bill, second fastest lap of the race, 119.3, to try and keep Van den Hudding at bay behind him.
Yeah, very, very tight there between the pair of them, and round went Hughes. Luckily, he was able to catch it facing the right direction and did the smart thing, didn't rejoin like an absolute plonker, which is great to see. But, man, oh man, that was probably a heart-in-the-mouth moment for the leaders. Go on board with Demolians now, chasing down.
And Saracino's past Brantham and all of that. I'm not sure if we mentioned that, but...
that happened in the background as we saw a spinning Hughes in the foreground. So Saracino on the softs up to second. He is flying on that soft compound of rubber. And Saracino looking to make it in the 2 races. Of course, touch wood, let's not commentators curse this, he says. But he's looking to make it out of the 2 races he's finished. 2 wins. Demolians around the outside with the DRS. That's as simple as they come. Gets it confirmed on the brakes as well. He's up into P13 for Optimal eSports. Paris looking to try and defend from Peter Knapp. Surely Knapp is closing in very, very quickly. Brantham tried an attack, that time on Saracino. Unable to make it happen. Here we've got a replay. This must have been what happened with Josh Hughes. Indeed it is. It's on board, and did they just touch? Yeah. Oh, we ran a little bit wide there, and then there was a little bit of a bounce. Got it wrong. And it just actually wasn't the contact that sent him round. It was a bit of an overcorrection, just unsettled the car. And got the wheels facing the wrong way. And, obviously these cars very, very rear heavy. That was Michel de la Cruz having a little drift there through the at the bottom end.
That's Aqua Minerale, yeah, he's dropped it. And that's because he broke on the curb and the rear just started to complain there. So good save by Michael, but unfortunately he's still down in 19th and last. And now a lap down, I think, on Davide, or 34 seconds down on Davide Zanini, and 2 laps down on Canzonieri, our race leader. But Saracino was only a tenth faster on the soft tyres that previous lap then. So Canzonieri has started to respond a bit here, and he certainly needs to, because Saracino is eking closer and closer into DRS range.
Absolutely, Saracino, you've got to think right now as the bookie's favourite. He is just absolutely rocketing his way around this circuit. And that soft tyre, well, we'll see how it runs at the end of the race.
But these two will have to make another stop, whereas Branfom and Taris, I'm pretty sure, are going to get those hards to the end.
I'm not sure. I mean, Saracino, it might be a monster effort, but the way he's pushing right now, you think you may have to make another stop. Is that the way to go? We'll have to wait and see, because I'm really not sure.
I would be amazed if Canzonieri can stretch the mediums, though. He's done, what, let's see, 23 laps on the hards. He's done 6 on the mediums so far, and he's got 14 to go. So that'd be 20 laps on the mediums. It might be doable. We'll have to see. I think if Saracino breezes past him, he might try and do that. But otherwise, I think he's coming in again. And Saracino definitely coming in again.
Have to wait and see. Replay here what has happened. That's Josh Hughes doing some donuts. Race isn't quite over, Josh, but just got it wrong. Looks like he's decided to call it there, I think. Oh, is that a bit of a wheel problem there?
Yeah, it was clicking to the left, wasn't it? Like a force feedback change. That might have happened mid-corner, and that might explain why he's had to retire, essentially. So, incident-filled afternoon for Josh Hughes. And that's a shame, because he certainly showed some great pace, put on a great show for us with some brilliant overtakes. So hopefully Josh Hughes gives it another go next time out. But here comes Peter Knapp then, round the outside of Oliver Taris before they reach DRS zone. And that's going to be comfortably through for Peter.
Yeah. Shame there for Josh Hughes. Shame there for Oliver Taris, as well as Knapp slides up into 4th place. Lap 31 of 34. Here comes Gallen Amartys now. Will have the DRS, should have the DRS, does have the DRS. And what can he do against... Actually, he's backed out on the move against Luchak. Interesting. I thought that...
Ooh, somebody's gone off in front of him.
Yeah, it looks there was a bit of a puff of gravel there. Not quite sure who it was, but looks like they've been able to keep it going nonetheless.
I think it might have been Dela Cruz.
Yeah, possibly. Have to wait and see if they come into frame. Indeed, it was, by the looks of things. Gallimard, that was an interesting decision to back out, though. I thought, you know... Well, I mean, I don't race, but... My immediate instinct there was to have the DRS, have the run. I would have been straight up the inside of Luchak, but Gallen Amartys deciding to play the long game here, deciding not to risk it. He's pretty happy where he's running right now. He's got no pressure from behind, and it's a bit of a gap in front of Van der Hudding as well. So maybe Gallen Amartys knows that this is his race. He doesn't want to make a mistake, doesn't want to get too cocky, and just wants to make sure the overtake is as clean and as well done as possible. So maybe he'll just want to be a little bit closer on the run down into Tamburello. There's a big puff of dust there. Someone running the racing line, and a bit more as they do a bit of grass cutting with their inside tyres. That's not going to be too ideal. Heading down through into Rivarza, back on board with Gallen Amartys. Let's see if he tries again. Dumping the energy deployment, surely you can see already in the slipstream. And as they come now, DRS will be open. This time, does the Netrex driver fancy it? I believe he does, because he's got a great run. Luchak squeezes him. They're neck and neck into the corner once again. Gallen Amartys just not quite feeling brave enough to challenge around the outside. If these two keep battling, Nando Marta behind them is going to be all over them in a second. They've already dropped a second on that previous lap just fighting. This could end up pretty interesting. Gallen Amartys definitely has the pace out of this pair. I think he needs to try and find a way through as soon as possible, though.
Yeah, I'm not sure why you keep calling Nando Marsa. Maybe there's a chicken restaurant you need to visit or something. But
the spirit of Alonso in him, I don't know.
Oh, it could be that too. Yeah, I forgot about that. But yeah, to me that looked like Gallen Amartys just wasn't as confident on the brakes into Zambrello as Luxak, because Luxak was just extending the braking zone as much as possible. As Saracino now much closer to Canzonieri, so I think Canzonieri has made a bit of a mistake, a free temp slow the previous lap, but they're side by side, a bit of energy deployment from Giuseppe Canzonieri. But here we go, Saracino back in the lead of the race, and now Canzonieri's got to decide, is he going to try and extend this stint on the mediums, or is he going to try and do that early pit stops? Because surely Saracino's not got too much life. He's done 7 laps on those softs. They're probably only going to be good for about 11 or 12 laps maximum, and we've still got 11 laps to go. Then as Gallen Amartys this time much further down the straight, much further alongside, Luxak is defenseless.
Yeah, absolutely. That's how Gallen Amartys wanted to get it done. Nice, clean, easy. Now he can try and set his sights ahead and break away from Luchak behind. Lap 33 of 44. We've got a quarter of this race left to run, and the time is ticking down. And especially for those on the softs, you know, are you going to come in? Are you going to try and make the tyres go to the end? What about the medium runners as well? They can probably make it to the end. The hard runners can definitely make it to the end. we'll have to wait and see how it's all going to unfold over the remaining 11 laps of this affair. Gallen and Martis, lovely stuff there. Again, just picking and choosing his moments. Smart racing there from the Greek NetRex runner. And you can see already, just extended the gap. He had the pace, just waited to get a clean way through. Now he has, and he can focus on running his own race now, potentially to the end. Van der Hudding is 12 seconds in front of him, so it's going to be a tall order to try and find Van der Hudding. As here we see Daniel Brandthome, championship leader, does have the DRS on Peter Knapp on the hard tyres, but way too far back to have a look down into Tamburello. So this time, the Valley Esports driver, well, he certainly won't be having a look on that occasion anyway, unless he fancied smashing into the back of his opponent in front of him. And I doubt the championship leader wants to do that for his team's home race as well. Of course, Valley Esports, the foremost Italian team, I think it's safe to say, here in FSR. They've been around for years and years and years, not just here, but in all other kind of forms of esports in sim racing. And they'll be wanting to pick up a podium in the Academy Series for the home race, I'm sure. What can the Super Swede do? Time will tell. They make their way down through Acqua Minerale. Such a brilliant section of racetrack. That is just fly through there on the brakes, turning in, trusting the front tyre, trusting the rear aero, and just hoping it doesn't spit you out. They come through the chicane there at the top of the mountain, and then back down where you go. Again, just a bit too far back from Peter Knapp at the moment. Again, on that soft tyre, Knapp is much quicker through the second and third sectors, but then this big long straight, Brandthome looks to just have it nailed down here. Despite the fact that early doors in the race, he was really struggling to get the drive down out of Rivart, so that was really causing him issues, was just getting his pedal to the floor out of the final corner. Seems like he's somewhat sorted it. So, oh, is that a driver around in the background I just saw, potentially? He's got a whole host of drivers here. What is going on? Is this lap traffic potentially?
I think this is supposed to be a replay of something earlier, but now we go back, I think, to live footage. So this is Peter Knapp then holding on to third. He's now pulled that gap to Brandfarm, hasn't he? Who was half a second slower the previous lap. Taras, interestingly, has got Cedric Bill just half a second behind him, and he's really started to close on the soft tyres as well. So I wonder if Brandfarm and Taras were worried about tyre wear, decided, right, we'll plonk the hards on and just go for the one stop, which I think I assumed everyone would do the one stop, but it seems only Brandfarm and Taras are going to stick with it. It looks to me, I think Saracino, Canzonieri, Knapp, and Bill are either going to try and get past and then conserve tyres to the end, or bruise through, make another stop, and then bruise through again.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have to wait and see. The laps are ticking down. It is not far to go on this occasion. Here is Peter Knapp, rounds the final corner once again. Brandthome a little bit too far back on that occasion. Here we see Nandor Marsa in P10, currently trying to defend from Massimiliano Riboli, the Italian driver in the Italian car behind him again. He would love a top 10 at his home race and his team's home race as well. Let's wait and see what he could do. Marsa, incredible on the defending. We know he's also very, very strong on the brakes in that ground effect car. There we see, just making their way through some lap traffic, getting out of the way.
That's Hallows.
Yeah, Alex Hallows, they've just made their way through. He's a lap down on the soft tyres, currently 15th place, but being very polite and getting out of the way. Of course, great to see some great racing respect for the rules. Of course, you do occasion in sim racing get a driver who just refuses to move out of the way for blue flags for reasons you can't explain. Alex Hallows isn't one of them. Thank you very much, Mr. Hallows, for getting out of the way in a nice and orderly fashion, and in a good place as well that doesn't hold up the likes of Marsa and Luchak in front. Riboli is getting a little bit held up though down at the hairpin, so that'll cost him a bit of time as they come to the top of the mountain, then bombing back down again into it's just a fantastic section of racetrack this is, isn't it? You really, really can't get any better than Piratella. Down into Acqua Minerale and then up into Variante Alta we go. Looking behind with Luchak, putting the pressure on Mars in front, but Gallen Martis is putting the pressure on him now from, Mars is putting the pressure on him from behind even. Can't even read the timing screen, that's how exciting this race has been. Luchak holding on to that P9 at the moment, coming up to roughly 5 laps left to run. And again, at the moment, it looks like everyone's just waiting, seeing if anyone's going to be diving into the pits or it's all...
I think those on the softs are going to try and conserve Ross, because Saracino's lapping in the 120.2s, Canzonieri 120.3, so I think the mediums, he just can't go any faster. Nasa, right to the inside of Luxac and has to back out of the last possible second into Tamburello there. Luxac very firmly shut the door on the ground effect driver there.
Indeed, he did. Yeah, that was a bit close, wasn't it? And Massa probably squeaky bum time in the cockpit for him on board with
Oh, mistake from Taras.
Oh, yeah, Taras, we've seen him run wide there before. He's done it again. Looks like it hasn't cost him too much time, but again, those little mistakes starting to creep in for Taras. Maybe starting to feel the heat, feel the pressure from the Go Team car behind. And the leading optimal driver potentially under pressure from Bill on the soft compound rubber. Taras is on the hards. Oh man, he could be facing a world of misery from the Go Team machine behind in a few moments' time. Further back in the pack, here we see Raboli, Massa, Lucek. Raboli's close right up to the back of these two. They're fighting so hard, it's allowed the Valet Esports car to close in very, very quickly. And now, well, it looks like Raboli's going to have the double DRS. That could be a monumental help from down into Tamburello.
Yeah, interestingly, Peter Knapp is the only one still lapping in the 119.9s. Everyone else in the sort of 120s, and then in the mid-pack a few 121s as well. But here comes Ruboli and Massa once more trying to find a way past Luxac, who is the immovable object at the moment, resolutely holding on to that 9th place. And you can feel Massa almost starting to get a bit impatient, and Ruboli sensing an opportunity here too. You were talking about Valet and Go Team earlier. It's of course Valet's home race and the team's championship. Valet just 3 points behind. Unfortunately, Go Team look like they're going to outscore Valet quite comfortably with Saracino, Bill, and then Branfom Hudding behind both of them essentially at the moment. But for Bill in the Drivers' Championship, it must be frustrating because Taras is the only thing separating him from Branfom, and he can't get through at the moment.
No, he can't, to put it politely. Bill is really stuck behind the optimal driver at the moment, who's putting on a monumental defensive effort. As we see here, Luchak, Massa, Raboli still very, very close indeed. Luchak has actually just started to pull away a little bit on that previous tour. But once again, still under pressure from Massa behind. Raboli still there watching, waiting, probably hoping they crash into each other so we can get a free 2 places. Of course, that's not what we want, but let's see what Massa can do this time. Energy deploy, DRS, oh, that's aggressive from Luchak, but it's not enough. Massa sweeps on through, heading down the main straight with the DRS, and he will take P9 heading into Tamburello. So Massa through on Luchak. Can Luchak respond on the soft compounded tyres? And Cedric Bill, what can he do as well for Go Team? And one Go Team losing a place for P9. Can we have another Go Team gaining a place for P5? Taras in front. Bill just not quite able to close in enough at the moment. Only a handful of laps left to run here. It could be anybody's guess who's going to take this place. Up the front, Saracino's got 2 seconds to the good on Canzonieri. This is the closest battle that we've got, though. Branfo also not too far in front of Taras. Well, this could be very, very exciting as the laps tick away, coming onto the main straight. And again, not close enough this time for Bill, but just trying to close up. He won't have the DRS either, I don't think. He's just going to have to dump his energy, try and get that straight line speed, get what little slipstream he can get, and just try and close up for the last few laps to try and launch a last moment move.
Yeah, I'll tell you who is closing in DRS range. It's Knapp on Canzonieri. He's just at a 119.8. Canzonieri 120.4. Oh, and Riboli round! Oh, and into the wall. Oh dear, he's done exactly what we saw Kalnan do earlier, isn't he? But this time at least he's kept all the wheels on. That must be Hallows just avoiding him there in the Team GG car. But that's really Riboli's chance of a top 10 out the window then.
Yeah, big shame there for Riboli. Oh, just pushing a little bit too hard out of the final corner. And again, as you said, we've seen that before this race, into the pits for a new front wing. He will finish likely on the lead lap. Oh, he might not even finish on the lead lap, I'm not sure. There is Saracino. Oh, what a shame for Massimiliano Riboli. Promotes him to 12th, the last of the lead lap runners. Will he stay on the lead lap? We'll have to wait and see. Saracino and the likes of that there heading down to the final section now. And here we see, though, Cedric Bill, and there's Peter Knapp actually as well. Peter Knapp getting closer and closer to the back of Canzonieri, so there could be changes for second place here with the DRS. The deployment. Okay, here we go. Look at those drive. Look at the speed from Peter Knapp to get the move done up into second place. Does he have the time, though, to close into Saracino? Does he have the pace? Again, he was the big loser in the pit stop window and had to fight his way through traffic. And that has cost him, because Nap has been looking ferociously fast all race long. Maybe this time the strategy, the pit stops, just caught him out, but we'll have to wait and see. As we see Cedric Bill is really close to the back of Taras now. He's really turned the wick up. I wonder if he got a handy boost of DRS down at the front straight. Again, it's very difficult to overtake in this portion of the racetrack. What Bill needs to do, Ed, is just stick on the back of Taras, try and get the DRS.
Yeah, you can tell the hard not got that peak performance as again he gets Marino wrong. The rear tyres just let go, he has to cut the track and he has to let Cedric Bill through. So Cedric Bill, crucially for his championship, up into P5 then. And Taras, his inexperience after that brilliant race in Silverstone showing there. So Taras really trying to nurse these hards. And the thing is, Brandfarm only 1.8 seconds up the road. So Bill, it's still game on with just under 3 laps to go. And I also wonder if Nap keeps catching Saracino, will Giuseppe Saracino find himself in a charitable mood once more and help Peter Nap out with the championship? Or will he fight tooth and nail for what's another race win that Saracino desperately needs to rebuild his confidence, if nothing else?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, my goodness me. Taras once again makes a mistake, and it's gone from bad to worst for the British driver. Too late on the brakes coming into Tamburello. And now any hope of being...
Oh, and that's Van den Hudding going through.
He's gone up the inside now, and off the road in front as well. It's all kicking off.
Crawford who's just spun out for Villeneuve, yeah. Oh, dear.
Don't scratch your eyes. You're going to miss absolutely everything. Taras, once again, getting sideways. You can tell he's frustrated. You can tell he's annoyed with himself. Starting to stamp the throttle. He needs to stay calm. He needs to rest and regroup and try and get that 6th place off of Van der Hudding. If he's driving angry, it's not going to go well. This time he is a lot cleaner through Aqua Minerale. But man, oh man, Oliver Taras 2 positions in half a lap. What a shame for the British driver who was running well all day. But you could see the mistakes starting to slide in. Maybe the heat, the fatigue has got to him. Maybe it was the pressure from behind. But what a shame for Oliver Taras. With only a handful of laps to go, he's now fighting for P6 with the Valet eSports car of Ruben van der Hudding. He will have the DRS here, of course. Let's hope his tyres aren't in too much of a state after a couple of mistakes. Again, a little mistake at the extra Avanza. But hits that deployment button, he will get the DRS, so he will be able to slide back up into 6th place to the outside. And Taras will retake that 6th place, but that is where he's going to be fighting for on the penultimate lap. The top 5, unfortunately, 6 seconds up the road, unless there's a complete crazy drama between the top 5. Oliver Taras will have to settle for P6, I think. A real shame for the British driver. But yeah, just goes to show, late in the day, sometimes you can just run out of energy, run out of focus, and it can cause mistakes.
Yeah, one mistake sort of snowballed there as we see Nap make a mistake too. So 2 laps ago, he was 1.3 seconds faster than Saracino. The lap after, he was 3 tenths slower, and then a mistake at Aqua Minerale, which is such a tricky corner because you're turning to the right and braking for a double apex right-hander, and it's also downhill as well. So Canzonieri, his eyes will light up ever so slightly. Of course, he's still on track for that first podium, but he would dearly love to get revenge on Peter Nap here. So I think Saracino and Nap have pushed those softs just that little bit too far, and now they just have to survive for 2 more laps, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. As we head on to the final lap of this race, Saracino, he's been brilliant, but can he hold on for one final tour to make it his 2nd win in what will only be his 2nd finish of the season? Looked like someone else was going off there in the background through Tamburello. But man, oh man, what can Peter Nap do? Can he close in late on the stage? He's got 2 seconds. He's going to need a lap of the absolute gods and maybe a mistake from Saracino. But I think Peter Nap, I think those pit stops just cost him. I think he's run out of time.
He's running out of tyres too.
Yeah, maybe run out of tyres as well. But you've got to hand it to Saracino. He has been phenomenal today. This could be maybe a move late on between Bill and Brantham for P4. With Saracino, the Italian, about to take his 2nd win of the year on home soil. He has been superb, Ed. And, you know, played his strategy right, played his cards right, raced smart. And with just over half a lap to go, he's been absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, after so many disappointments in the middle phase of this season, it's great to see Giuseppe Saracino finally proving the critics wrong. And only one more corner to go, and victory will surely be his.
Indeed it will. Giuseppe Saracino, second finish of the year, second win of the year on home soil. Saracino with a drive for the ages. Incredible stuff from the Italian to take the victory in fine fashion. Peter Knapp has to settle for second after losing out in the pit window. Canzonieri comes home in third with a great drive from him as well. Looks like very clearly the Italian drivers being favoured here on home soil. But it's all about this man today, Giuseppe Saracino. He's had such bad luck. He's had mistakes all season long. A win in Bahrain. It's been 3 DNFs, a no-show. And now he is back on the top step of the podium. Take a bow. Giuseppe Saracino proving the doubters wrong, showing the pace is still there, and just taking a delightful victory.
Exactly, and interestingly, our top four in the championship in second through the fifth then. So Peter Knapp has closed on his teammate Cedric Bill and the overall championship leader Dano Brandfom, who's extended his lead to 3 points rather than just the one that he had going in. So holding off Bill was absolutely crucial there. And don't forget about Canzonieri as well. He'll gain on both of them as well by just a handful of points as well. So first podium for Giuseppe Canzonieri. He'll be pretty delighted with that. Peter Knapp, after a few fallow races, being taken out in Singapore, only 10th at Silverstone. He will be pretty delighted with that, I think, as well. That was about as good as he could have hoped for, even though ideally he would have loved Saracino to move over for him. But you don't get presents like that in Academy, at least not at Go Team anyway.
Yeah, well, there we go. What a race we have just seen. Saracino takes a brilliant victory with Peter Knapp and P2. Canzonieri, 2 Italians on the podium. His first podium at FSR as well. Great stuff from him. Daniel Brantham in P4. Cedric Bell, great drive in P5. Oliver Taras, unfortunately, just succumbed to the mistakes late in the day. But a great drive nonetheless to make it P6 with Ruben van der Hudding in P7. Kostas Galanamartis in P8. Nandor Master in P9. And Gricek Luchak, he rounds out our top 10 here in Imola. A strong performance from every single one of those guys in the top 10, and a great race we've had here as well. Of course, we've got plenty more FSR action to come your way. We've still got the Pro Championship and the World Championship heading your way in just, obviously the pros come first in a few moments time, and then the World Championship coming up a little bit later on. And then we'll see some of the top guys in sim racing showing what they're worth. And of course, we'll be back with FSR Academy as well on the 12th of June. We've got a little bit of a summer break to bask in the sunshine if you're in Europe. Heading to the Istanbul Park as well, heading to Turkey. Should be a very interesting one there, Ed. It's not a track you often see in sim racing, but a brilliant circuit and one that offers lots of great racing.
Yeah, plenty of 10-8 comes to mind with that constant apex left-hander, which is such a challenging corner, really tough on the tyres too. So that's really going to be lovely to see our Academy field put through their paces, but I really think it's turning rapidly into a 4-horse race for this championship between Brandfom, Bill, Canzonieri and Knapp. But you have to say full marks to Saracino today because he did exactly what he needed to do, responded really well with the strategy, and another win is his, although you've got to think if the rest of the season had gone to plan, he would be right with that top 5. But nonetheless, great to see another home winner for the second race in a row. Unless we got a Turkish driver somewhere, I think we're going to struggle to repeat that 3 in a row.
We'll have to wait and see. But man, oh man, what a race. Again, Ed, pleasure to be here alongside you, as always. And what a pleasure to be back in FSR. And what a race we've just seen. As I said, we've still got 2 more races to come today, so don't go anywhere. But again, Ed, any driver of the day for you?
Oof, I think an obvious pick would probably have to be Saracino, but I think I'll give it to Canzonieri because I think he deserved that, having finished 4th 3 races in a row, been so unlucky, so many mistakes. He finally got that podium that he so richly deserved today. So I think he's probably one of my standouts, along with Saracino, I think, as well. But I think, Russ, that's all we've got time for. So thanks you very much for commentating alongside me. Thanks to our broadcast director, Antoni Nicpon. Congrats to Saracino for taking victory and to Go Team. And thanks to you, finally, for watching the 6th round of FSR Academy in 2024. Bye for now.
Hello, I'm Jack Nichols, and welcome to
Who's going to break Lasmith's world title?
go. He's going to do it. His first victory.
The World Championship is done. What a race it's been.